your sister, my brother.
I'm supposed to be next.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Rohan. I'm from Hindustan Times. Thank you for taking the time out. Let me just say, I enjoyed this show. All of you guys were. I think the cast is the highlight of this show. The cast is what makes this show. I mean, there's so many actors, and all of them are just at the top of their game. Um, I've been a big fan of Mira Nair for so long, and I've heard those stories about how she is on set. She's so feisty, and the one for love takes. And I want to start with Tanya first. I want to ask you, as it's one of the earliest gigs in your career. So how was it like on set on the early days before you had fully acclimatized to a Mira Nair set?
Yeah, well, initially I was always like very scared and very like shy and like always like sort of in that fear that, oh, I might make a mistake or I might do something wrong. But slowly and gradually, like I had a great team working with me, like all of these people. So they sort of got me out of my shell and made me like more comfortable just being around them. And I think a lot of acting is to do with how you play, how your energy plays off with your scene partner. So it was for me like all the interaction seemed so casual, so comfortable. So that's how I sort of got used to it. And I mean, thanks to Mira, I think her energy sort of rubbed off on me.
As someone who's worked with all three of them separately, what would you say are their individual skills at uh, the scenes, or how are they different from each other?
Just drop that one now.
So I started shooting with Danesh, and my schedule started with Kabir and Lata's track. So there was a lot of passion and romance that they had. And then it sort of moved on to Mikhail, like the Lata and Amit track, where sort of calmness and there was an intellectual like take on each other. And with Harish, and I mean Namit also, he's a very calm person, but also like very bubbly. And it's always like that constant like batter back and forth that's happening with Lata and Harish. And I also feel like that is kind of Namit's energy as well. So everybody in their own individual way they sort of like they helped Lata and like they brought out a different shade of Lata, and I think you'll see that on screen as well.
I want to ask the three guys here this question. In the show, your characters are vying for the attention of Lata, but as actors, you're vying for the attention of the audience, right? And it's such a sprawling cast. How do you manage to kind of work with what you have and make the best of it? Danish can start.
I think you don't think of that, in my opinion. I think you just trust in what Mira is telling you, what the director is telling you, and let that take you to grab the attention of the audience. Because the way the audience has reacted has also been something that I didn't see happening. So I think I just wouldn't start from that point of view.
In what way didn't you see it happening?
No, as in it's unexpected. Like I didn't see the kind of love for Kabir when I played it that the audience has received it, which is all the vision that Mira had. So while playing it, it was not visible to me at all. But I see it now in the final product.
Namit?
I think, first of all, this is a very big setup, right? And it's a promise which has been made to you that you are going to look a particular way. You are going to be communicated to in a particular way. And that is the excitement. That's the initial excitement of getting into a prestigious project like A Suitable Boy, which is such a big project because of such lovely actors, because of Mira Nair directing it. I think what you need to focus on, and at least that's what I did for my character, is just focus on yourself. That's it. And not get perturbed and not sort of look around and just be within yourself. And then slowly start making those connections in each and every scene with all the characters that come your way. And you can be only about yourself at that point of time, and only when you would you see the series then all of it will sort of come into reality. But at that moment, when you are performing, it's just you and your character, your page, your dialogue, and the character who's performing in front of you. So it's very, very singular. It's really singular. It has to be that. And then it can be any other thing after that. And it can be many other things after that, obviously.
I agree with both Namit and Danesh, in the sense that the world that was created for us was such a beautiful world that we were already immersed in this 1950s India, and the characters that came alive on screen, who you've experienced, they for us were everything. And when you're in the world, that is the only world that really exists. And it was beautiful. Only Mira, Nair, and the team could really create that. So for me, at least, playing Amit, it was only about that Amit Calcutta 1950s kind of world that I was immersed in. And of course, my relationship with Lata and my sisters and my family. And I wasn't really thinking about how 2020 would, or the world in 2020 would look at, I wasn't playing to the world in 2020. It was more about the 1950s existence that for me was everything.
For example, talking about the world, I remember when we were doing the look test, the first look test, which was that famous studio. That's where it all began. That's where I met all these lovely people in all these lovely dresses. I remember going up to Mira and saying that yes, all these dresses, all these pants, these waist size pants, they look very good on us, but we need to be real in them. So what do we do about that? So there was a pant which was sent to me by our lovely
Yeah.
designer, costume designer, Arjun Bhasin, and I used to sleep in that just to be comfortable, right? So that's the kind of preparation that went into not only playing the character but also the time, and that's what you sort of singled down. That's what you focused on, I think, when
Yeah.
you were in that world.
Did you also have one of those fancy pairs of shoes?
I I tried to. I tried to rob some, but I think I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed, and I made cheap versions of that, and I live in them right now.
There was an interesting point Mikhail just made in his answer. Uh, how in 2020 we are perceiving India's past, but in many ways things have changed, but they haven't as well. And I think that's a theme that's in the show as well. So I want to ask each of you, and Tanya can again start. How do you think India has changed since the 1950s, and in what ways do you think it hasn't?
I mean, we've come a long way from, if you see what was like in the 1950s, the mindset, the people, we have come a long way, and there is still a long way to go. But at the center of the story is a theme of self-discovery and coming of age. And I feel like that would always stand the test of time. And that's a very relevant theme that would always echo to be universal. So I feel like that's still very relevant and that would always stand true. So in that way, I feel like it's still very similar to what was like in the 1950s, to establish that identity, to establish the sense of self, and to be known for the individual that you are. And I feel like that is what the present India resonates with the 1950s as well. And I'm sure the others could like add more to it.
Danish?
I think that there has been a lot of improvement, and still, like Lata said, there's still a lot of improvement left. Because, yes, there are people who are trying to shrug off the identities that they are born with, but on the other hand, those identities still exist. So, in the show, also, you see Lata and Kabir trying to come together against all odds when most of the odds are stacked against them. Similarly, there's still a lot of similar situations here that we need to get through, and there's always going to be progress to be made. But we have a way to go, and we've come a long way also.
Namit, your turn.
I am actually, I think opposite, and it's the same feeling that I had when I read the book. and I finished it finally in 2015. I started it in 2001 and I finished it in 2015, and I'm acting in a version of
That's
an adaptation
amazing.
of it in 2020. So I've literally I tell people that I've lived with the book for almost 20 years now. So, but what I really feel, heart of heart, a suitable boy is essentially about relationships, and
Hmm.
these relationships can be placed anywhere. Yes, in this book, in this context, it's placed in 1952, when the country is only 5 years old. It's getting ready for its first elections. So the concerns are slightly different. Yes, the aspirations are very different. We are talking about a different time zone. But what we are looking at, and what people will relate to in 2020, seeing this beautiful story, is the relationships, the people, the Indianness of the subject, and the beauty of how human beings exist, and the little things of life which makes life be living. You feel like living, and that is the beauty, I think, of this story, which has been really, it's been captured really nice in the series as well. So yes, I think the relationships live through.
Just to add to that, I completely agree with what everyone has said. And I think when I read the book, what I was really struck by were the amazing intrinsic themes of it, which is the relationships, and it comes out in love and finding out identity and who you are. And being Indian is a complex identity. I'm from Bangalore. I went to college in Delhi. I lived in Mumbai. And there's a lot of elements that make us who we are as Indians. And I think that's what the beauty of A Suitable Boy does, because it draws that parallel of the India in that existed then, but at the same time it links back to the India that exists today. But the essence is very much the same, because we do still fall in love. We do find connections between us, and we do, it's all of those little things are what make us who we are. So just, yeah, so I think it's very relevant. And at the same time, just to add, yes, things have changed, but there are things that can go further as well. And I think the point is to embrace the differences in our identities as well.
Thank you. That's my time. Like I said, more than the sets and the costumes and everything, you guys are the highlight of the show, and I can't wait for the world to watch. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank you so
All
you.
the
much.
best.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ron. Thank you, man.